fellow truth seekers. Today I'd like to share a document with you. Last week I received a data dump, actually a series of documents that are the most shocking evidence of the existence of adrenochrome I've ever seen. The volume is extensive and important to share, as it shows that it is highly unlikely that all these documents are falsified or created by a LARP. For those of you that do not know what adrenochrome is, it's a substance used as a drug and life elixir. The drug is the most expensive on the market and extremely popular amongst Hollywood stars. It is derived from blood of young donors, preferably below the age of 12 years old. The blood needs to contain the highest amount of adrenaline, for which the children are terrorized, raped, and tortured to raise their adrenaline level. When the child is in an extreme state of pain and fear, the blood is harvested. This happens in the so-called adrenochrome harvesting sites on an industrial scale and within a worldwide network, as the documents that I will share in this video will point out. It started with this letter that was sent to a German blogger. Dear Mr. Schaefer, I'm sending you the photocopies and printouts because I am afraid. I ordered USB sticks at Amazon and received them last week. One stick had an opened packaging and there was data on it, PDF texts. At first I wanted to send the stick back, but then I thought, no, let's first see what's on it. I do not understand English very well, but what I understand is that it was a list of abducted children. Those are probably caught and abused. It is terribly sad. A company called CYM runs scams and evaluates children. They offer the adrenochrome and sell it. Disposal means elimination. There are hundreds of pages and I can only print out a few. There are also lists of names and photos of adults. I think that these are the people who keep the children captive. So she sent these files to this blog because he was writing about Q and Trump's plan. I cannot send an email because I'm really afraid, and I think that these are terrible killers that torture the small children, just like Q also writes. I've been reading about Q for a long time. Please find the possibility to publish this on your blog or on a website. I've checked the names, etc., etc. I've looked up a few of them, not all of them. And these companies, they seem so serious. Can you give the list to Mr. Trump, who will hopefully get them out of their misery? I'm really afraid, and in case this letter gets intercepted, they cannot find my name because my son is about the same age as these poor children. It's signed by Steffi, and the PS is, if I have to send more, then I must be careful. Please write on your Hominibus website, like, Steffi, contact me. Then I see that I can answer. So this is the first document that was found on this USB stick. It is a document by the CYM Corporation, an inmate report. Here are the names of the children, the birthday. This child is 6 years old. The blood type in custody for this number of months. So this child has been in custody for almost 2 years. There are also children that are in custody for 3 years. The adrenochrome quality, the sites, the camps, and I will get into that in the presentation a bit further on. The year when they are planned to be disposed, whether they are suicidal or not. So these children of 12 years old and younger, many of them are suicidal. The country of origin, the daily quota, which is dazzling to me, 25 daily quotas, and the inmate number. This is page 1 out of 12 pages, and it's pretty recent. It's printed in June 1st, 2020. This goes on and on and on. These names need to be searched in a database, police database, CPS database. This is the volume of documents. And let's go to the next page. This is a summary. No, wait, this is a summary. The CYM Corporation Production Report. Raw adrenochrome production. These are the locations of the camps, the origin of the countries where these children are abducted, the number of inmates. You can see it's large volumes, the production in milligrams, and the average age. This is the adrenochrome production report per child. These are the names, date of birth, age, inmate number, name of the camp in use for this number of months, captured in country of origin, and the year when they are planned to be disposed. Part 2 of the production data, the blood type, suicidal or not. If marked yes, isolate subject and increase production. These people have no empathy. The daily production and type of torture. This is really shocking. Children come from Costa Rica, incarceration facility. I think this is the abbreviation of Guantanamo Bay. Surprising, because the bad guys were supposed to be locked up there. Apparently not. And there's many, many more captured from the United States, Canada. And again, I will go a little bit further, faster through these documents, but there's many, many, many documents. And another thing that is interesting to point out, that these forms have been filled in with a typewriter, and you can tell because the print of each letter is slightly different, which is a characteristic of a typewriter, an old-fashioned one, to avoid a digital paper trail. I'll show you the volume here. So these are all the forms. There are many. It's huge. So this is the disposal report by the CYM Corporation. In the first quarter of 2019, this number of children were disposed. In 2019 total, almost 400 children were disposed. I guess this is the adrenochrome quota or quality. When children have a B minus minus quality, they will be disposed. This is a more detailed disposal report, page 1 out of 8. name of the child, date of birth. So this child is 8 years old, to be disposed. It was disposed in the first quarter of 2019. This child is 7 years old. And again, this just goes on and on and on. These are the locations of the adrenochrome harvesting sites. United States Army Special Medical Corps, Personnel Performance Report, center name, that's the camp name and rank, some sort of diagram that I do not completely understand. It's related to the personnel and the performance. Camp Anza, Camp Callan. Please note these names because these are significant. Camp Kearney, Camp Kohler, Camp Lawrence J. Hearn, Camp Lockett, Camp McQuaid, Camp Santa Anita, Camp Sealy, Camp Stoneman, Camp Young. Now, if you look at these names, for instance, Camp Callan, it was a United States training center operational during World War II. It was located in San Diego, California, and the facility was closed shortly after the war, and a few traces of the base remain. This is what it looked like at the time. But apparently, according to these documents, these camps are still operational. This is Camp Anita, the way it looked in the Second World War. This is another camp that is listed in these documents, Fort Point, and according to Google Maps, the location is just below the Golden Gate Bridge, and I think this is this building, I'm not sure. They're all these deserted places. Actually, this is a museum, so could also point out to the underground facilities. Camp Stoneman used to be a United States Army military facility in Pittsburgh, California. Also closed down. So that's the pattern. Another pattern is that their location is near national parks, very deserted areas. Fort Ord, California, near Monterey Bay, and I will get back to Monterey Bay in a minute. I don't know where the fort exactly is. This area is, there are many locations that are called Fort Ord, but there's also a national park here. So the secluded area, Fort de John, very desolated. This is a list of closed military installations in California. And if you look at the list, it's identical with the names in these documents. Camp Anza, Camp Anza, Camp Callan, Camp Kearney, Kohler, Lockett, Santa Anita, Stoneman, Fort Ord, Fort Point, Presidio of San Francisco. This list is identical with this list. So I suspect that all these closed military installations throughout the US are all still operational, either above ground or below ground. And again, this is extensive, page 5 out of 8. We'll go fast forward. This is a huge document. And whatever this is a professional organization and big scale. The CYM Caring Corporation. Caring is youth. Youth is money. Money is freedom. Well, freedom not for the children, for sure. Note of promotion. Lance Walls works at Camp Callan as a warden, senior warden or leading warden, assigned to CYM Corp, New York, warden in adrenochrome harvesting site, AHS, or another function. I would like to point out this contact information. In Monterey, California, I'll go back to the military camps. This is the same address as this. And you can find this at installationsmilitary1source.mil. And this is an official organization that helps mediate American military to provide housing, also connected to these locations. What I find shocking is if you look at these documents and these pictures, I mean, this looks like a very young, nice girl. Why is she working at these camps? According to this document, needs to be investigated. Another thing I like to point out is this location of the address on the letterhead. The CYM Corporation headquarters, 725 Fifth Avenue, New York, office 292. That's the Trump Tower, 725 Fifth Avenue. But what's interesting is that Benjamin Fulford wrote in his report of September 28th that there were some arrests made in regards to this data dump, and that this shop, Abercrombie and Fitch Kids on Fifth Avenue, was a facade, a cover-up for this organization, and is actually right across from Trump Tower. So the Trump Tower address might also be a smokescreen. I mean, it threw me off at first because I thought that's kind of odd that the Trump Tower is listed on there. But there's hundreds of offices, and you can hide things in plain sight and also use it as a smokescreen that eventually could point at Trump. So there's different explanations for this. Then this address is also interesting. Deliveries 200 Forbes since Annapolis in I think it's Maryland. I'm not sure. And that's this address, and it's a medical building, and apparently it's a pediatrician office. So they need to do some explanation why their address is showing up on this letterhead. So there's all these personnel. This is another thing I'd like to point out. The CYM is a registered trademark. Register number 5475570. Now, if you go to the registration of the trademarks, this number is the registration of the word mark CYM. Now, if you register a trademark, you register either the word mark or the logo separately or combined, and preferably both, because that gives you more protection. Now, what's interesting, so this is not the logo, but it's actually the way it's written down with which characters, the character mark. What's interesting is that it's allocated to the category restaurant services. And the registrant is Limited Liability Company, Pennsylvania, 4658 G Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, this address lists 4 companies that have the same address: MRP LLC, HP Platano Inc., CYM Island Kitchen, La Tierra del Chicharron. Now these two is a restaurant in Philadelphia. And at first glance, it's a normal, out of the ordinary restaurant that serves Caribbean food. Island Kitchen, Chicharrón y Más. And, you know, the CYM Island Kitchen is related to the CYM and the CYM Island Kitchen. Seems odd at first that they would list it as a restaurant. The CYM trademark registration is intended to cover the category of restaurant services, but based on these documents, they're involved in adrenochrome production. This is the CYM Chicharron restaurant. It's in a very rundown neighborhood in Philadelphia. As you can see, they have a large storage space with ventilation shafts on top. Now, you have to realize that adrenochrome, the fresh liquid form, needs to be cooled. So whenever packages are sent, they need to be attached to a cooling unit and a battery. Now, if you deliver something like that at a restaurant where there's a large storage space, nobody would think something about it. And also when people come to pick up packages, nobody would think anything about it. So I think this is a cover. But let's go back to the presentation. These are the personnel reports, notes of promotion. And again, these many, many pages. And these names need to be investigated. I haven't been able to find a trail because usually more names, more people with the same name pop up and you can't find these pictures. So I haven't been able to find a match. So a forensic detective needs to look at this. This is the CYM Corporation Personnel Report in detail. You see the names here, the ranks, date of birth, the camps where they work. You see, Camp Santa Anita, Camp Callan, Fort Ord, Camp Stoneman. I think this is just California, these files. And again, it's just goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of people working there in this company. A lot of people. In the data dump, there was also a printout of an email to the legal department of George C. Scouts with a satellite image regarding the orderly disposal of human remains. Please note that burial site number 9 is now clearly visible on satellite imagery. Can anyone conceal it better? The fence alone won't be sufficient. So there's at least 9 burial sites. That's pretty shocking. This is a letterhead sent to other companies, whether these are distributors or clients, it's unclear. Pretty recent, July 5th. Please find enclosed our confidential new detainee and production reports as follows. Production of raw adrenochrome per detention center with average age of detainees. List of detainees used for production, duration of custody, and scheduled disposal date. Note that the column suicide only states suicide attempts. A finished suicide would appear in the disposal report, not enclosed. The disposal report is what I showed you earlier. The price list of 2020. The quality per 100 milligram, almost 2000. When the quality is below B00, B minus minus, the children will be disposed. Please note, check or cash in advance. Checks made payable for CYM Corporation Special Interest Division. C.S. Yorrington, CEO and founder of CYM. I looked up this name and doesn't pop up. It looks like this is a professional organization and they have some IT people and hackers working for them, making sure that the digital trail is, people are not trackable. And again, this is many letters sent to companies, also in the UK, Liverpool, Manchester, Liverpool. That's a lot of documents for a LARP to falsify and to create. I think this is the real deal, to be honest. Comptroller report, page 1 out of 35. Some sort of a list with all different codes that I do not understand, abbreviations I do not understand. These are also filled in or created by an old-fashioned typewriter. Now, which company do you still know nowadays that works with an old-fashioned typewriter? This is very voluminous. This was part one. In part two, I will go into the international network, documents from Germany, the UK, and links to China.